Right, look, guys, you're watching the Geek Someone. Today we're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, the seventh movie, and the reboot, which is Craven's New Nightmare. Yeah, I'm gonna say this is a massive step up from what we've been doing so far. I've talked about all the other six, so you might as well check out the channel if you haven't already. But number 7 is finally on par with the first film, and the first film is just average. This film is about the same. So it's literally neck and neck. We're talking about 7 and then we get onto the reboot and what I really think of that. So stay tuned for that in a minute. But yeah, number 7, bringing back the main OG character. And then I'm like, wait, how? I thought she died. What? Are we contradicting ourselves and rewriting stuff? No. Her being an actress and all 6 films being actually films in that universe, and the actress having to deal with Freddy Krueger coming to life through the films was very cool, and her and her son having to stop him and burn him like they did in the first film was quite, wrapping everything up, and obviously her reading the script to her son, saying what happens at the very beginning of the actual film was very meta and very connecting and all starting all over again, which I thought was very cool and well done, and actually wraps up the saga quite well. Also, having the main actress to do extra stuff than she's not done before, she's a very strong character, and as you can tell, I struggled with Nightmare on Elm Street a hell of a lot, from the first one to the absolute dreadful second one, to the third one being just not better as the first one, but still okay, I guess. And then just dropping down to like 2 out of 10s and stuff throughout all this saga, really hating it. And then suddenly surprised with the 7th one being actually good. Well, average. I say 5 out of 10's an average. So, yeah, I stick in it with the first one, to be fair. I would give it just a 5. But I also think the aspect of Freddy looked completely different. They gave him a coat. He was different jumper of such, and the hand. He definitely had an. Would you say an upgrade? I would say downgrade. I think he looks worse than what he did back in the day. I like the original look, but he was still Freddy. He's still doing his thing, and also we got to see the actors who play the original character's mom. Dad and Freddie as well were in this, and the writer and stuff, and that was kind of cool. That was interesting, and I thought the son being quite creepy as well was very cool, and the dream sequence as well at the end there, and having to fight Freddie was decent. I'm gonna give it a 5. Now let's get on to, and I think as a whole, all 7 movies, it gets a 4 out of 10. I think generous for only having 2 good movies and the rest being absolute. But the reboot, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal compared to what we've just had. The only downgrade is Freddy himself. I think the OG Freddy would have been cooler than what we got with this guy, but the story they gave Freddy in this was brilliant, and the characters were decent. It took me a while to get used to them, but as soon as they did, I thought they were brilliant. I thought the story, of course, being Freddy, making Freddy an actual villain, being, one of them ones that does with the kids. I'm not going to say the word, but making Freddy one of them, and then the parents' outburst to kill him for what he's done to their kids and stuff, and then going on a journey with the kids, remembering what Freddy did to them, and then just this whole thing. And there's like a list, and there's primary school photos where Freddy's been taking out all these kids in their dreams and having to come with some stuff. Now, some stuff actually linked quite well with the original. They did pull stuff out, like obviously the boyfriend getting the blame for the murder of that, and then him dying in prison, and then obviously the bath scene with the hand coming up was from the original. So they did have some original ideas in here, replaying with a reboot, and I guess some of the names and stuff, but totally felt different vibe because of what they done with Freddy and having his story completely different. he did do some one-liners like, "Oh, this is a wet dream," and stuff like that, which he plucked out from other films throughout all these sagas, I guess you could say, and the burning to try and keep you awake and stuff like that. But also we got it just felt more scary than what we've had before, and it felt more real. And I think that's what works quite well. And the setting, going back to the primary school at dark at night, and it just being abandoned, and going to the crime of the scene where this guy actually lived, Freddy, sort of in this cave setting, was kind of cool. Was also quite scary and dark. And I think the main characters having to defeat him in the real world and pull him out of there, which they did in the OG stories. I think this had a mismatch of all 7 in one, really, with the reboot. Of course, defeating Freddy, and then eventually, just before the film ends, like the OG films, to be fair, scenes at the end of the film that probably weren't canon. You could count this probably canon, but it's quite a nod to that. What I liked, killing the mom, and then that's how the scene ends, and that's the main character just screaming, and the credits just roll, because you could get a second film out of this, but I don't think they do go down that route. So yeah, I think as a one-off this works. I think this is a strong one that I would give a 7 out of 10, which is the highest out of all of these films I've watched. The reboot actually gets the 7 out of 10, and everything else, the highest I give this was a 5. So actually it passes the reboot. The only thing I do miss from this is Freddy's character, his comedicness, the way the original one played it. I think that was brilliant. But yeah, like I've said, I've talked about number 7. I like the OG character and bringing her back, and then doing something completely different with making the world actually be films in their universe, and then Freddy coming from that was definitely cool. And I think it was definitely a step in the right direction. And whether they would have continued that with an 8th one, apparently they were, but it didn't get commissioned. I think it would have been cool to make him in the real world that way. But the reboot, I think, was very decent as well. And I think it's a definite step that I would love to see more of with the reboot. So maybe I'm a one-off. Like, maybe it's unpopular opinion that you guys probably love this because you grew up with it and you think the reboot is trash. Or actually there's people out there that believe the reboot was actually better, like me, for example. I've watched all these now for the first time in 3 days. I've finished my run, and I would watch this one again. I would watch the original, and I would watch the 3rd film and the 7th film. That would be it from this saga. I think everything else is just naff and not my thing, and I don't feel like majority of it is actually horror. I feel like it's just comedic more than anything, and cheesiness that's not really my thing. But anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions, guys. Nightmare on Elm Street, I've finally completed it all. So yes, I've talked about Chucky, Scream, Halloween, and now Nightmare on Elm Street. They're all the horrors. Check them out already. And of course, we do Marvel, DC, and Jones, Rick and Morty. You know, really space to be for a geek like me. So join and subscribe. As always, I'll see you guys in a review very soon. Have a nice day. Also, the reboot didn't do bitch. I remember obviously the original doing that. So yeah. Also, shout out to Rick and Morty. They did the character Freddy quite well in their episodes as well. But anyway, that's me done. See you guys next time.